Alright, this is a sound check. Um, I don't normally do videos, but I have a topic I want to talk about, and now's an ideal time because there's nobody home. I can talk out loud. Nobody will be barging in the room looking for anything. And as I was going through my shelves that you see behind me, I saw a game that I felt like needed kind of a exposure, I guess, because I'm kind of sitting on it, and haven't played it. It's not doing me any good. I will play it eventually. The game is Diplomacy. I have another copy of it, and we've played that one several times. That was back when kids were younger, everybody was home. We had 7 kids, and we could always get a table together for larger games like Diplomacy or Here I Stand. If I had had it at the time, we could have done Cosmic Encounter. Probably would have enjoyed it a lot back then. Yeah, just Axis and Allies, lots of things. So probably more I'm forgetting about. Empires of the Ancient World, there we go, there's another one. But I wanted to expose this copy of Diplomacy in a video because it's kind of a special one. As a lot of you probably know, Allan Calhamer, when he published Diplomacy, he published it in 1959, and he self-published it because he couldn't, I think he couldn't find, if I remember correctly, he couldn't find anybody to do it right away, and he wanted to get it out there. So he took his own money, and he had 500 copies made, and he sold them out of his house in Massachusetts. I believe he was going to MIT at the time. So that's what we're going to take a look at. I have a copy. I have one of those original 500 copies that I got in a lot of games that I had picked up from the widow of someone who that's a long story in itself. So this guy that I met, we had an antique mall in Jefferson City here. I live in central Missouri, and they had a bulletin board in the foyer, and I was trying to find people that had Avalon Hill, SPI type of war games, whatnot, because the Jefferson City was just not ever a hotbed of wargaming. I'm not sure that they ever had any retailers selling them outside of maybe Sears, because there was a Sears store here, and I know Sears carried them. And I did find an ad in the back of a General once for somebody that lived in Jefferson City, was looking for an opponent, and this is like 20-30 years later, and I sent the guy a letter in the mail, and he actually responded. He still lived there, still lived in his parents' house. But anyway, so this guy that I met, I was looking for either opponents or people to sell games through this bulletin board at the antique mall, and within a week or two I had gotten a phone call from an older gentleman. When I say older, I was probably 40 something at the time, and he was past retirement age. He was probably pushing 70 at that time. And he said that he did have a lot of war games and other games that he was trying to make some room in his house, and he wouldn't mind selling a few. So we made a date, went over to his house after about a week or so, after he had had some time to kind of pull everything out and think about what he wanted to charge. And he wasn't giving anything away, but he wasn't gouging either. They were very reasonable prices. Probably not, like if I was going to be reselling them, they probably wouldn't have been good prices, but just for me at the time, I was trying to build my collection at the time, and it was it was amazing. It was like, here were all these games that I could pick up for what he was asking, and no shipping, besides the cost of my gas going over there to pick them up. And we had a good time talking, and I visited him probably 2 or 3 more times, and then I hadn't heard from him in quite a while. I hadn't reached out to him. He hadn't reached out to me, and then it crossed my mind all of a sudden that I should see what he's doing. So he was very accustomed to dealing with postal mail, so I wrote him a letter and I sent it to his house, and his wife responded telling me that unfortunately that he had passed away, and that was very sad. She also invited me to come and take a look at some of the games and see if I wanted to buy any of them. And so I did that, went over there, and I didn't really pick up very much. There weren't a whole lot of things that I needed. There were games that I already had, and there was no point in me buying them, but I bought a few games from her, and I paid her the same prices that he was charging when he was downsizing. And then some time went by, and she had made plans to sell the house and move to Springfield, Missouri, to be closer to grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. So she invited me over again and said that they were packing the whole house up, and everything was pulled out of the closets, and there was not a big pile, but there was a fair little pile of games there, and she wanted to have me come over and get them. So I went over there, and I wasn't expecting anything spectacular, and sure enough, when I walked up to the pile, there was Castle Risk, there was King Oil, there was any number of little things like that. I can't remember exactly what all was in that pile. There were a few war games. There were there were some handwritten piles of notes in there for something that he was designing that I just couldn't make heads or tails out of it. It was something Pacific oriented. I think I did end up shipping that lot of papers off to somebody who was into that type of thing, and thought he knew what he could do with them. And then there was this nondescript cardboard box in the pile as well. And so I just said, hey, I'll give you $5 a title, because I don't need most of the stuff, but help you out. We'll take it out of here. And so she said sure, and I counted it up, and it was probably 15 or 20 titles, and so she got close to $100 out of it, and I collected everything and stuck it in the car and went on my merry way. Well, I got home and started looking through everything, and that Pacific Theater stuff was just bewildering. I spent a lot of time looking at that. It almost looked like kind of a homemade game kit. But then when I got to the other little flat box and pulled it out, I was kind of stunned, and it turns out that it was a copy of one of the original 500 diplomacy titles. So that's why we're here, and that's what we're going to take a look at. So let me pause here for a moment, and we'll grab the camera and